Hey everybody, this is Daniel here, and today I'm going to be going over the differences between client-side rendering and server-side rendering. So you've probably heard the abbreviation CSR and SSR, and I kind of have an idea what it means, but today I wanted to go over exactly what the differences in these two rendering techniques are, and what are the pros and cons of each, and what type of applications use each of these. So first of all, rendering is basically the process of converting your code into HTML that can be displayed on the browser. And the names kind of tell us a lot about how this is done and how these two things are different. So in client-side rendering, the user gets a blank HTML web page, and then the JavaScript code that is used to execute the rest of the functionality comes in, and then on the client side on the browser it performs the code for the web application to function. So to kind of show this, you can do this with basic JavaScript. I just have an app page here that just has a name, products, and then all I have here is the joining of this data, which is just an array of these numbers, and then I have a wait timeout of 3 seconds just to kind of show the separation between the stuff that is in the HTML that the server will show off right away, and then the script being executed on the client. So if I refresh this page, you can see that this app and the products text stays on the page. Because it's loading instantly, you might actually be able to see them flash very quickly. It's almost instantaneous, but the execution of the JavaScript that displays these numbers shows up 3 seconds later. So that is client-side rendering. Now here's another example. This is basically the exact same app, but it is in Next.js, and this uses server-side rendering on initial load. So if we go here, the code looks a little different, but it should have the same functionality. We have our data.join, we have our props with the data here, and then we have the async function that's gonna do the 3-second wait. And then in this case, when I click the refresh, take notice of the network. When I click refresh, the whole page is not there, and then it appears. Now, it's hard to see because the text is exactly the same, but your whole page is going to be frozen, and then once the server has completed all the computation with the JavaScript, which in this case is waiting 3 seconds, then it loads the entire page. This is server-side rendering. Now, you might ask, well, what would be better, client-side rendering or server-side rendering? Well, that really depends. If you think about it, different apps would use different things. So in a client-side app, because the client does all the work on the front end, this is great for single-page apps. So for example, things like social media pages where you have one feed, and then you can asynchronously update the feed as the user scrolls. That would be a good use of a client-side app. Whereas a server-side app, since you are loading pages completely, a good use case for this would be like a e-commerce site, like a really big one like Amazon or something that has a lot of pages. That's why when you go into Amazon, you click on a product, the whole website goes white while it loads the page, and then it completely loads the whole page in. So I have a comparison chart here, if I can find it. It is here. So this was just a nice illustration. Ignore the SSG and ISR for now, but mainly just look at the CSR and SSR. Now this is a little bit opinionated on how much of the difference it is, but it's a good visual representation of kind of what I've gone over. So client-side rendering, suitable for dynamic content like we talked about with like social media pages, things like that. SSR less so. Another big thing that I didn't go over is that because in client-side rendering, you're just passing a blank HTML file, and then you bundle everything in JavaScript, and then the JavaScript arrives and runs everything. Because of this, any Google web crawler will have trouble discerning what the page is and rating it, because it has very little information based on the initial load of the HTML page. Whereas in a server-side render, because it takes full HTML pages, it does all of the work on the server and then brings the whole thing over. This is much better for SEO. So any pages that depend heavily on SEO, SSR is definitely the way to go. Now, client-side rendering, the render time is going to be quicker on it'll be a little slower on initial load, but then any updating in real time, anything dynamic is going to load much faster because it's cached in on the client. Whereas for a server side page, it's going to take longer on each load because it has to do all the work in the back end and then bring the whole page in. So yeah, those are the main differences between server-side rendering and client-side rendering. Hope you guys have a good day. Thanks.